with it.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely
Yeah,
sense that. Well, cool, man. It's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out for the show today. I appreciate it.
absolutely. Happy to. Glad to connect with you. You got a fascinating profile and story. I feel like I should be interviewing you.
Oh yeah, no, it's all good. I'm looking forward to kind of peeling back the layers of you being a sales expert. But before we do that, 4 years ago, the world was wrapping its head around a global pandemic, and I'm curious how you survived that time period that changed us all so much, and how it changed you now.
Yeah, it's a great question and a great reflection that I think, all of us need to kind of go back to that and think about, gosh, when we were forced into changing and the popular word of pivoting our businesses, right, and our mindset, I think we got to do that ongoing and not wait for a pandemic to happen. But so it was fascinating for me in my main focus of sales and advising other companies prior to the pandemic. I would typically go on site to a client for a few hours or half a day a week or so, and so it was a lot of time either driving or there on site. I come from a background where I'm one of these weird people. I've never reported to an office. I've spent my entire career working remotely and running international sales organizations from my home and traveled out to them. But so the rest of the world kind of woke up to the Zooms and the media to allow us to remotely access and have video meetings. And so it actually boosted my business potential because it allowed me to then broaden where I could help clients because I wasn't really locked into where I could travel to on a daily basis. So it literally opened up the world because I now have clients internationally throughout the US that I can all handle right here from the front of a webcam.
Yeah. That's fascinating. There are so many people that were already doing this, and there was that notion that you couldn't do it remotely, but now that whole argument's gone, just not even relevant anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if I put you in front of a bunch of third graders right now, here in 2024, and one of the curious little kids looked up at you and said, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" What would your answer be?
It'd probably start with I learned from people like you, right? Because the whole saying of making sure you're not the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
If I'm in a room of third graders, I'm still not sure I'm the smartest person in the room. But no, I tell people that, kids, even up to grown kids, I'm here to help business owners. Most business owners don't understand the craziness of sales. So, young man or young lady, what is sales and what does that mean, right? When you've got a product or a service and you want the rest of the world to know about it and to be able to purchase it or use it, somebody's got to help get that message out there and get your product or your service out there. And so that, of course, is what sales is. And so I'm the person that helps that business owner figure out what's the best way, most efficient way, most successful way to drive those sales to bring in more and more product sales, revenue sales, services, whatever it might be.
So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
Oh man, totally different from where I am now.
Yeah.
Third grade, I was absolutely 100% focused to be an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay.
Uh, I grew up in Columbus, Georgia, which was home to one of the first ever orthopedic only hospitals. It's called Houston Orthopedic Hospital at the time. And so that was my goal. And so, literally, from the age of when I was 15, I needed to get my foot in the door there, right? I just wanted to be around people in that space. So, I got a job as the graveyard shift security guard at the hospital. And then each summer or Christmas, I'd work my way into eventually, I got the opportunity to work for years in the operating room, scrubbed in the blood and guts of orthopedic surgery, and then continued on that path. Finished up at the University of Georgia as a zoology pre med major, applying to med schools and ready to tackle the world at that point.
Wow. So talk to me a little bit about this rise to prominence in sales. How did it become your focus? How did you get good at it? How did it just kind of become your existence?
You know, it's one of those that in the moment I really didn't realize how powerful this moment was. But during those college years, needed a little spring break money, maybe a little beer money, if you will, and so took a job with a local inside sales company that was, back in the days of literally the worst possible sales job, the job that nobody wanted to talk to the telephone sales guy, right? And so at the time, I was selling magazine subscriptions. And it's the typical format if anybody's ever seen or done that, right? You're just given a list of names basically, and you're just dialing quick as you can. I spoke to a guy that was super nice, and I clearly remember this as if it was yesterday. He was super nice. He let me go through my pitch. And finally, he says, "Young man, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I've been blind since I was a kid." And I could just kind of tell and feel it wasn't a blow off. He wasn't trying to get rid of me because he still kind of wanted to chat a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it was at that moment in time, I don't know what led me to it, but I just kind of said, "Well, sir, first of all, let me apologize if I've offended you in any way at all. I apologize. That was not my goal here, but I'm just inclined to ask, do you have people that come visit you, family or friends that come to your home and hang out with you?" "Oh, absolutely. I love it when they come by." "So it's a crazy idea, but would you like to have magazines or things at your home that they could read, or maybe they could even read and it give you things to talk about, things that were in the mag?" It's like, "Oh my gosh, that would be so much more comfortable for them. And yeah, give us stuff." Absolutely. He bought like 6 different magazine subscriptions. He was my best customer ever. And so I always tell the story and look back and go, you know what? If I can sell magazines to a blind man and
Yep.
feel good about it, I think there's a career here. And so it took a few little denials and wrong turns, but after finally deciding I didn't want to get into medicine, managed care was coming along. I stopped and I was being recruited by, I was still working in the medical field, and I got recruited into pharmaceutical sales. And it just launched a sales career of just growing into different roles and different things. And it just took off from there.
That's amazing. Yeah, my dad was a car salesman. He was a pretty persuasive guy, did really good at it. It just was never something that was a part of my DNA. I kind of went down a different route, but there is an acumen. I remember when I was in college, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, and I did do door-to-door sales, and I think they were selling vacuum cleaners. And I will never forget the guy that I was with. He just was absolutely full of information about the government, about who took Kennedy out, explained the CIA to me, had the whole story down. Like, I will never forget it. And I remember I was like, "What's the craziest time you ever knocked on a door? What happened?" I mean, this guy had someone should have written a book on him, and I'm sure they have at some
Yeah.
point, but he was the classic guy. I kept thinking about Death of a Salesman. The whole idea was just fluttering like butterflies in my mind. It was amazing. So it, it's a wild world, you know. I mean, you're genuinely the thing about sales is it takes a lot of guts. And I've been there. You really have to be confident, you have to know yourself, and you have to be ready to go into something that it's like kind of like jazz music. It's pure improv, and you got to make something beautiful out of chaos.
You're exactly right. But I think what's also a great analogy with jazz, and I know you have such a love for that, and the theme of this podcast with that. But with the chaos and the improvisation that is jazz and that is sales, much like a jazz musician or artist, as I can only believe, I have no musical talent whatsoever, but they know where they want to go with
Yeah,
their sound,
yeah.
right? And they believe in their sound and they feel their sound. It's probably just oozing from them. And I think successful salespeople are the same. If you're selling something just to make a buck, you can be successful at it, but it usually is felt by the customer or potential customer. But if you're really selling something that you believe in and you know how this could help the person you're talking to, now it's not stressful, it's relaxing, and you're confident. You're like, I got something you need. I got something that would help you. Now you're not selling, you're teaching and making something available. And that's a game changer.
You know, everybody that ever talks about entrepreneurship to me or building a business always says it's about finding the problem and solving it. It's that simple. And it's just kind of what you said right there. That's the whole idea of it, you know. And I never thought about that before. I just don't have that. I'm more of a creative right brain guy, but that makes total sense to me.
And that is why I started this consulting business 7 plus years ago now, is because it helped me realize, wait, the way my brain works isn't the way everybody's brain works, right? And there's so many entrepreneurs and business owners that are just running and they're juggling so many plates and they have so many different things, and they only know what they know about sales. And they don't have time to go learn and be masters of what it takes to really perfect sales. And over the years, I've realized they've gotten comfortable outsourcing or reaching out for help, maybe on their finances, maybe on their marketing, maybe on HR. But they've just in the last few years begun to embrace this. Wait, so there's sales expertise that can come on and help me as well. And so that's what I love, is that I can go in, help them, and time after time I hear business owners that are like, "Wow, you kind of gave me my quality of life back. You helped put some process and some identification into what I'm trying to do, that it's freed me up from all the stress and worry that is trying to run and figure out sales."
So at the end of the day, who's been kind of a hero or a role model for you in your life?
Wow. My dad. My dad is just he's in his mid 80s now. And he's just been an amazing role model for me. That he's one of the smartest men I've ever known, but he's a salt of the earth, tough love kind of guy. But he's very open and strong with his Christian faith, and he poured that into me, and I'm so grateful and thankful for that. But he's so loving and caring of my mom and my brothers, and to this day, I've never met a human being that's had one bad thing to say about my dad. I've met a few that have bad things to say about me, maybe, but never about my dad. So
Wow.
I strive to just be a shadow of what I see him as.
Wow. So in the world of sales and the world that you come from, if you could meet one person that you admire or you find fascinating, who would that be? Who would you love to meet and talk to?
Wow, what a great question. There's so many, and there are just so many people from a sales aspect, and I look at so many, probably going back to, old school guys like Stephen Covey and people like that. That they were just game changers back in their day, and entrepreneurial and different, but put systems and thought and things into place then. And I just think, wow, if you could take that and put it, in kind of the modern day, and all the with all the AI tools and all the different elements are out there, man, it'd be fascinating to see how they would adapt and just launch these new endeavors the way they launched things in sales many years ago.
So let me ask you this. You mentioned, selling the subscriptions to the blind man, but was there in all of these decades that you've done this work as you've steamrolled through and had all these successes, what has been another one of the seminal moments for you that really sticks out in your career?
You know, uh, Time after time when I engage with clients now, these small to medium business owners, when they thank me, that that just lifts my spirit, because they're thanking me for helping. It's rarely about, hey, thanks for helping us hit this revenue number or that revenue. It's just an overall, man, thanks. You helped our team. You helped build the culture we were looking for. You built back trust in our, the sales team and the leadership team. You freed up my time and kind of gave me back quality of life. thank you. That's what I set out on this mission to do, and that just makes my day.
I was interviewing a teacher a week ago, and he said, if anyone out there is listening, just reach out to a former teacher and say thank you. And my wife's a fifth grade teacher, and last year we went to one of the students' weddings, which is just
Right.
wild. And a lot of the kids, because I'm an IT guy in the school district, and I've been here for a
Yeah.
long time, and she has too. So all of these kids that remember her we're talking about what she did by reading stories and all of those things. And it seems simple, but yeah, once you validate yourself, like, have you ever watched the show Monk?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so they have a movie that came out, and of course, it's based in COVID times, so he's tickled pink because he gets to use the hand sanitizer. It's like he's like, "Oh my god, it's finally here, my moment of life that I've been waiting for. Everybody
Yeah.
is staying away from me. We're all wiping our hands." So he was in heaven, but I'm not gonna give too much away, but at one point in the movie, he was really upset about just where he was in his life and if he's validated for the work he did. And all of these ghosts of people that he had solved murders for came up and thanked him and talked about the domino effect that he had done by solving that one thing that he himself was just like, what, why am I doing this? All these
Mm,
people that I'm solving crimes for are gone. I have no real validation for my work in
yeah.
life. But all these ghosts came back and thanked him anyway in a long roundabout way. It's really about validating this life that we feel impelled to live. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about.
It is, and I love that, and kudos for you and your wife as school teachers. My mom is in her 80s and retired. She was a school teacher her whole life, and so yeah, just have such high regard. It's one of those I wish we could completely change our economic structure and realize, okay, these CEOs and whatnot that have earned these big paychecks, great. So what if we had our teachers at that level? Because let me tell you, you guys are on the front lines for the future, and it's incredible what you do.
I think once humanity gets the emotional intelligence up, when that becomes the priority, I think everything from firefighters to teachers to all of these public servants are going to become more validated in a monetary
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
I sure hope so. It's we've definitely kind of got our priorities out of whack right now, and
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of room for growth there for
A
sure.
absolutely there is. So let me ask you this. You have to give obviously good advice to people just with this situation with the blind man. You're like, people around you need to read. Very simple. But in your life, what's the best advice that you've ever gotten?
Honesty and communication. That if you focus on those two things, it can change the outcome of a conversation. It can change the outcome of a day. It can change the outcome of a life. And I know that sounds staged and you know such a big kind of thought, but the really it if everybody were just honest with one another, right? It even in that tough love kind of feedback, right? How many times I had a brother who's a cancer survivor, and he talked about one of his best friends walking in to see him in the hospital, and he's like, other people come to see me, and they're like, "Oh, you look great." It's my best friend walks in. I'll clean it up a little. You
Yeah.
look awful. It was so refreshing that somebody came in and was honest, right? And so I think if we just had more of that, being honest with one another, being thoughtful and considerate of our communication of that honesty, with clear communication that we all know and can trust is honest, it's a game changer. It
Yeah.
we take off our mask, we get out from behind hiding on social media and all that stuff. We begin to have real conversations and we solve real problems. And I think we begin to respect and understand each other's different perspectives without everything turning into a fight and an argument and escalating. Honesty and communication, game changers.
About 20 years ago, my son's 19 now. I was an IT director for a home health agency, and they were throwing me kind of a shindig celebration. And I still remember one of the reps there. Her name was Selena, and she said, "Whatever you do, be honest with your son." Now, there's things they don't need to know, and my son's on the spectrum, so I have to be very careful because he can get anxious and
Yeah,
he can eviscerate on things. But at the end of the day, it's all about explaining and being upfront about what you're doing because it just makes so much more sense because you're the model for them. They're going to emulate what you do, you know,
that's right.
and
That's
that's,
right.
yeah, that's the bottom line. So, of all of the things that you've done and accomplished and evolved into in your life, the career choices, what are you the proudest of?
My family. I, what I do to earn a living and how I help folks. That's what I do to pay my bills and to fulfill just that drive to help people and to serve others. But I've got an amazing wife of, we're getting closer and closer to 30 years of marriage. I've got a daughter that's almost 26 and married, and she and her husband are living a great, successful life. My son's 22, recently married, and he and his wife are just living an amazing, successful life and independent, maybe a little too independent. Mom and I want them to come back to us and call a little more often,
Yeah.
but they're loving, caring, independent young adults. And I just couldn't be more proud of all my wife and kids.
So speaking of youth, if you have a dream tonight, you ran into that 18-year-old version of you, you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained in your lifetime. What advice would you impart on that young version of you?
Uh, I tell them to just keep dreaming,
Yep.
right? We just get so channeled by the world, by society nowadays, by social media and whatnot, that it channels us to think that's what we want to do or what we should do. And I think it just unfortunately limits our dreaming, right? And my dream of being an orthopedic surgeon changed dramatically, and I love where I'm at. I don't regret not following that path, but I think you just have to continue to dream, right? And so I tell my younger self, pursue your passions, keep dreaming, and chase that dream. Don't chase what society tells you you're supposed to chase. Chase what you believe is right and what you know is going to fulfill you.
I remember a few years ago, my stepdaughter was really disappointed after something had happened. And I said, at the end of the day, you have a dream and no one can affect that. All you need to worry about, no matter what people say or do or whatever happens, pandemics and all of these things, protect your dream. And you're the only one
Yeah,
that knows that dream. And you're the only one that's dreamed up that dream. It's like having an idea for a book. Just protect it. Hold on to it. It's your world. It's imaginary right now, but it will be real and just protect it. So,
right. Yeah. I mean, why we all feel this push and rush to grow up, right? I
yep,
mean, we need to mature. There's certainly some value to maturing, but to keep that youthful energy and creativity and
uh-huh,
thought process, man, again, game changer. And I think you see that in individuals,
yeah,
right? Those are the people that when you go to a party or go to an event that you're just drawn to
yep,
because you're like, man, I want to be around that
yep.
guy or that woman. It's just a magnet.
Every once in a while I'll go and present a podcasting course at a college down south here, and every time I do it, I take the little shuttle up to the building, and I'm just around all of these college kids and incubated with all these dreams and these ideas, and it takes me back to when I was there because there was this hum, like we have a normal hum in life. Grocery stores have a hum, banks have a
Yeah,
hum, but when you get on a college campus, it's like when you're at a baseball game and they're like, start cheering louder. It's like that's their natural placement.
that's it. And it's so funny you mentioned that because that's why my wife and I, we've always basically lived in college towns, and
Yeah,
it's why we love Athens, Georgia. Athens, Georgia is, I don't even think it's 200,000 people in the general population, but the vibe and the energy of, I don't know, probably 50,000 University of Georgia students around,
yeah,
man, it's just invigorating, that energy.
yep,
And like you said, just that buzz.
yep.
It's, yeah, it fuels the old bones. I'll put
That,
it that way.
that's right. It certainly does. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, but you are in control. You run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Uh, my perception of me is a humble servant leader. I definitely always like to be in the forefront. I like to lead, but my humility keeps me kind of going from the front to the rear of a line because I want to pull the group, but I want to make sure the last one in line is on board with us, right? And so I think I see myself as that humble servant leader, Christ follower, and hopefully that's what others see and recognize in me, not just in what they see, but what they see me live out as well.
So if anyone wants to learn more about you, get involved with your world, anything about you, what's the best way to do it?
The couple of things you can go LinkedIn. You'll find me Dan Harper, and then CSL. Find me in Athens, Georgia. You'll see me there. My company name is Magnolia Sales Innovations. A clear indicator that I formed the name way before I thought out how long of an email extension that would be. But go check out the website. I just tell folks, look, if you're ever interested in just talking about life, I love talking about life. If you're interested in talking about sales, let's talk about sales. So I'm open to conversations because I'm proud of my network and I'm proud that I get to add you into that network
Yes,
now,
sir.
Joe, that it's like, hey, if I can't help whatever you're facing, I'm proud to say that I can find somebody in my network that can be a resource for you. So reach out. I'm here to help and serve.
Yeah, you're wonderful to talk to. And if people haven't picked that up over this conversation, they really should. Dan Harper, you're a good man. Charlie Brown, thank you, sir, for your time. Thank you for your story. Best of luck. This has been a joy. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Likewise. Appreciate the opportunity to speak and get to know you better as well.
Yes, sir. Take care.